And welcome everyone to another episode of Point of More Returns. I am your gracious host, the Masked Investor. With me, we have Welfare. Welfare, talk to us. What's new today?
What's up, man? Nothing new, same old same. Just on the hunt for deals. I think we talked about it maybe last episode. I closed on one, so trying to bring the property up to speed, stabilize it, and then like looking for some more opportunities, man. How are things your way?
Yeah, things are good too. Things are good over here. I've been having some issues with brokers, trying to get just information on the listings lately. I think, but kind of think I might have figured out how to kind of crack the code, before you could just kind of submit stuff, and it would follow up with you. But I guess because of just the amount of deal interest now, through, as we talked about on the last episode, it's probably hard for brokers to kind of keep up with volume. So really have to do follow-up game in nowadays a lot more than in previous days. But
Hmm.
stumbled upon a deal, looks promising. So as you know, we submitted on it. So we'll see how things go. But one of that kind of leads us into what we wanted to talk about today. Um, as a deal professional, our time is pretty valuable, and so you're going to spend a good chunk looking at deals, right? And so one of the things that we think is key and germane is just making sure you're spending your time in the right places. What you say, well, fair,
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Well said.
understood. And one of the big problems that we've been coming across in deals is kind of the difference between a motivated seller and an unmotivated seller. And what I mean by that is that you'll come across listings, and sometimes they are what I consider ghost listing, meaning that yeah, the business is on the market, but not really on the market. You have sellers who are just kind of either testing the waters, where a broker may have approached them in the marketplace and said, "Hey, you interested in selling that business?" And the seller, kind of like things are going, hadn't really thought about selling, but of course, with anything, just about everyone has a certain number, and so they'll let the broker take the listing, put it up on a marketplace, or take it to market, confidentially, of course, not with the intent of really kind of negotiating in a true sense of coming to a deal, but just looking to see if someone would be leap high enough to meet the pie in the sky number that they've got drafted. And so, our intent today is to kind of give you a couple of signs. These aren't foolproof, but they've been pretty, tested in the field, and we feel pretty strongly correlation to that. That if you use these, it'll help you avoid listings that may not have a seller that's looking to get a deal done in quick order. Or and what I mean also by quick order is that a seller may be on the market, but they may be willing to hold out for offers, to kind of get the deal they want. And so those two can be a waste of your time if you're not looking to pay a premium for a deal. If you're looking to really just you want to get a deal that makes sense for you and the buyer and the seller, then it would behoove you to try to find deals where the guy's motivated to sell, looking to move pretty quickly, and has some true intent in offloading this business. And so, I guess we're going to start off first with on the real estate side of the house. Well, fair. Just let's talk a little bit about on your side. How did you feel? Is that something you're coming across a lot here in your journey as well? Listings with sellers that are motivated, unmotivated. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I appreciate that. This is a topic that is important, and if you're in the business, you don't even necessarily have to be in the business a really long time, but you will come across this when you start um, speaking to agents, brokers, or just talking to sellers, looking at deals. But I've dealt with sellers that were motivated, and I've dealt with sellers that were not motivated or unmotivated. And one of the biggest cliches in real estate you'll see is quote unquote price to sell. and it's become such a cliche that it doesn't carry the same weight because everyone says it. And the only time it really matters is when the context and the numbers back it up. So price to sell is supposed to mean, hey, the seller is motivated and they're showing how motivated they are with listing price that is gonna move, meaning someone sees the price and sees the value and they want to purchase it at that particular price. But oftentimes the term gets used price to sell and it's not necessarily price to sell. So it doesn't carry the same weight and cachet that it once did. Um, yeah, but I think you wanted to potentially, like, let me stop rambling. I think you wanted to like look at a potential listing to see if it was price to sell. Is that where we're going with it?
Yeah, I just wanted to pull up a few and just kind of walk through as you would um, on a search for real estate and see if there's something that stands out to you. I guess the first place we want to start off at is just the kind of listing website themselves. We're going to take a trip over here. I know the viewer can't see it, but we'll just describe it. It's on Trulia, and there's you pull up the front page and you're just looking through a certain city. Let's just say Phoenix, Arizona. Right, it's a pretty hot market right now, and uh, as you pull up, anything that you see right away that might alert you that, hey, this is one that's motivated, or one that you may want to kind of avoid because it's just going to be a while before it does anything.
Yeah, so let me give a little bit of context for everyone listening. One, I'm not in the market of Phoenix, Arizona. I've never looked at this market to purchase anything. I've heard a lot of stories about Phoenix. Um, so we're just picking a random market and just trying to talk through it. What I would look at if I'm looking at a listing and I'm trying to determine if the seller is motivated or unmotivated to an untrained eye because I haven't been studying this market is I would look at what is listed at. I will look at to see if there have been any price changes. Look at how long it's been listed. I would look at the actual listing comments. Sometimes in real estate, and I don't know if this happens in your world with, you know, private equity and buying small businesses, but the agent will literally say seller is motivated in caps. That- So sometimes it could just be a sales pitch, or sometimes it could be legitimate, but it's your duty as the potential prospective buyers to determine if it's real or not. But those are my initial thoughts. I would also try to pull some comps and see what things are sold in that same um, zip code, in that same street, or some type of um, comparable that has same number of bedrooms, same square footage, around the same year built. And then I'll look at the condition of the property as well and just try to get an idea. And this can all be done relatively quickly. This isn't like deep, deep analysis that takes hours, but I would at least do those things to try to determine if this is overpriced or not. And then what I've done in the past is I've straight up text or call agents and say, and sometimes they'll be forthcoming, sometimes they won't. But hey, have you gotten any offers, or have you gotten any competitive offers? Or sometimes they'll play ball, or I'll just say, hey, will you accept X dollars? Just very directly. And they'll say, hey, I'll have to take it back to my client, or my client won't take less than X. And it kind of wipes out a lot of this cat and mouse game that has to happen. But
Hmm.
I don't know if it works like that in your world, but sometimes depending on the agent, depending on the seller, they're just a lot more direct about these things.
Okay. Okay. Yes, indeed. So, and you would go to the listing here, and you said you're just looking for those types of things. Any of these filters you apply, or anything that would kind of cut down on it, possibly, or
Yeah, I mean,
Possible
it,
to do as well.
we've talked about buy box in other episodes, so I won't go into that. But at this point, if you're looking at what's priced to sell and you're looking for comps, you already know what your buy box is. So you would be able to your question, you would be able to go through the filters and say, hey, this range prices these number of baths, these number of beds, this particular home type, whether you're looking at townhouses, condos, duplexes, whatever. Um, Drill into specific zip code. You can even go into like special things about the house. Like, does it have a garage? Does it not have a garage? Does it have a pool? Does it not have a pool? Um, to just try to get a feel for what's sold, and you can get a roundabout idea. And then especially if you're using an agent, you can just ask your agent to run comps, right? They'll be glad to do that, especially if you're going to use them as your representation on a deal. So that's what I've done in the past. That's what works. And then if all else fails, you can just, throw an offer out and say, quickly reach out to the agent and say, hey, will you take X dollars? And then if they don't respond to you, you know your offer wasn't competitive enough, or it just wasn't the right time. Maybe they need to just let the listing sit for a while and see how unattractive their asking price was. Like sometimes that happens and you have to wait around for a few months and then they realize, oh, this thing is not gonna move.
Yes, indeed. Not going to move. And, right. So, just to pick one off of here, we're just going through a couple listings here on Phoenix. I say I want to look at this 575. It's new 8 minutes ago. So my thinking as a rookie investor is, oh, I'm gonna be the first one to this house and I can win it. Is that the right approach, or should I think about it?
Very, very good question. I will say if you're a rookie investor and it just listed 8 minutes ago, unless you've already done due diligence on this particular area, have some type of comps, it could go one of two ways. You could lose your shirt on this deal because you don't know what you're doing, or if you've already done all of your research and you're ready to pounce on it, it could be a really good opportunity for you. But 575, I haven't done any research to know what you could potentially rent it for, but 1% rule, I'm assuming 5,750. I don't know if that's realistic. I'm gonna assume it's not for Phoenix, but I don't know without doing any research. Um,
Well, if I was an investor and I just want to know if I this guy wants to close quickly, or is he going to wait on a bunch of offers and then, let's say I
yeah,
wanted to get the deal done and within a week
that's fair.
submit an offer and we're at an agreement by the end of the week, or am I going to expect to wait a longer period of time on this?
Potentially, could you click on the list and let's read through.
Okay, let's take a look at it here.
See what the comments say.
All right, 3927 East Lavender Lane, and 575. You got 4 beds, 2.5 baths, 2,200 square foot. Uh, Anything that says this is a motivated seller to you, or let's look at the
I'm pulling it up. Let me look at it on my other screen. Okay, looks like the property is in pretty good condition. There is a HOA, which that is a double click into the due diligence if you ask me, but that's fine. New
double
AC.
click into due diligence.
Yeah, because there's a HOA, so you don't know what the rules are. If you're intending to keep it as a rental, you don't even know if the HOA will allow it. Um,
Oh, well, I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to figure out if it's gonna get a deal done faster.
yeah. I'm with you.
Okay.
Scroll back up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what we do know is the seller is taking pretty good care of the property.
Mm-hmm.
No popcorn ceiling in the house. Add lighting. Can Can lighting added. Walls removed. Open fill. Granite. Home is waiting for you. Nothing particularly stands out, but they have taken good care of the home. So it could be some emotional attachment. I don't know if it was a primary residence or not. That also could show some.
Okay. Because the main thing that we're trying to do, and you mentioned it before too, is trying to keep buyers, I mean, from meeting sellers who just kind of want their price or they'll just take it back off the market.
Mhm.
You mentioned, a house where you came in with a good bid, but seller, wanted what they wanted. And until you either got to that number or or else, there was no deal. And so just wanted
Mhm.
to see kind of what we're looking at. Is there anything we could do to kind of prevent that or not?
Mm-mm.
Um,
Not on this one. I mean, this is probably a standard listing in
mhm,
terms of the details. Nothing stood out
mhm.
specifically, but it was well maintained. They highlighted how well it has been maintained. I would need to do more due diligence on it, but
Mhm.
I think this one, I would put this in the neutral
Neutral
category.
category. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever see on listings like family is moving or anything like that? New school, the new job, he got a new job and he's selling the house or must
Very, very
divorce.
seldom will you
Okay.
see something that direct. You might get
Okay.
that intel from speaking to the selling agent, especially if you've been negotiating back and forth a little bit, because at the beginning of negotiations, they don't want to be at a disadvantage. So they kind of play a lot of things close to the vest, because they don't want a lower offer. If they know you're too motivated, then you're going to get a lower offer, right?
Mhm.
So for the sake
Understood.
of, yeah. This last property, that's exactly the one that I just bought. It's exactly what happened, but we got that intel once we were already under contract in terms of, hey, we locked up another property. We're looking. They actually wanted me to push the closing back instead of up because their house wasn't ready that they were buying. So, but they didn't say that up front because it would have been advantageous for them to do so.
Understood. Yes, indeed. Okay. Well, cool. I'm going to switch gears over to the business side.
Yep.
I'm going to run through just kind of quick kind of things that I check for. Signal one, price reduction days on the market, right? Obviously, as the business has been up and prices drop, sellers motivated to get out, and now there's motivated to get out. Now it could be a situation where they put it up on the market, seller had a price, and you see that very often. They'll come to the market, I want $3 million, and first round of bids they won't get what they want, and so they'll have to just sit for months, almost a year, and then they'll finally drop the price when they get market reality. So the other thing is signal two, broker language, obviously listing on its own. Are they selling, a dream or solving a problem? Kind of flowery language, like imagine yourself stepping into a thriving business. Very different situation from owner transitioning to other opportunities. And so, another thing is financing. If you get on a listing and the seller said, qualified buyers only, no owners financing at all, that seller's probably not as motivated to sell. Typically, don't I kind of stay away from those because, they're willing to wait. Another one, life events. If it says, relocation, health, partnership dissolution, divorce, those create emergency that the seller has to sell. And so you want to act on those pretty quickly. And then the other signal is just kind of asking price versus financials mismatch, which you see pretty commonly. Those, that's your first obvious telltale that we were talking about from the beginning that, hey, this particular investor, this particular seller, probably not motivated to sell. If they have, it might be that ghost listing. If they're asking, they got $250,000 in cash, but then they're asking for $5 million. Yeah, he's just testing to see if somebody's just that eager for that type of business to go. Probably want to stay away from that listing. So I guess first thing we're going to do is kind of pull up a group of listings here. So we go to the King Daddy website, frequent a lot, Biz Buy Sell, and just put in the listings, Florida car wash for sale, right? And just kind of off bat, just looking through a handful of listings, you see, obviously the ones without cash flow, we just skip right to get right away. They're either unprofitable or those are probably be a waste of your time. And then the first thing I come across is a premium car wash detail facility, acre of land in Champions Gate, exceptional commercial opportunity in the heart of Central Florida, located in Champions Gate, up to 60% seller financing available. Right off the bat. You could probably want to take a look at that. It sounds like a motivated seller. Now, there's some things that are troubling with this listing that you may want to be as one. There's no cash flow to disclose, but it's been established since 2016, so it could be worth a look a little bit closer. But first off the bat, if you want to get a deal done, this sounds like a motivated seller because right off the bat they're offering some seller financing available to you. The next thing we want to try to kind of pull and take a look at is I'm going to pull up a medical search for some MedTech listings here. Just maybe try to see. Here we
Hey, can I
go.
ask you a question about that one?
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah. So besides the seller financing, like 60% seller financing is like raise your eyebrow a little bit. What else
Mhm.
about that listing do you think says, oh, this seller is motivated? Was there anything else that stood out to you, or was that just enough for you to know, like, oh, this seller is serious?
Yeah, the financing lets you know that the seller is serious. Um, that's the first and foremost signal that I saw. I'm just looking at the opportunity. I don't see anything else that other than when you scroll down here, reason for selling, pursue other interest, which is not uncommon. It means the seller probably took it where he can, or they've got some other things they want to do, and it's just not growing, or they don't have the mojo for it anymore. So that's a good sign too. Um, the other thing, maybe let's see if there's anything else on here that grabs my gore. No, those are just the only two right there. Um, everything else doesn't. There's nothing else on here that that grabs me as why the seller would be motivated just off the top of the listing. But those two alone are strong enough to, if you were looking for a car wash and you wanted to check it out, that would be enough to at least say I can contact this broker with confidence that this deal's not I'm not going to be wrangling with this seller for a year. um, the next thing we're gonna do a thing for medical device companies out here in Dallas. And so let's see, medical, anything that jumps off from the account I see. This is an excellent opportunity to acquire an established medical company. Things are reasonable price. But right here at the top, we got a MedTech investment opportunity, patented imaging platform, FDA pathway. Um, this one wouldn't it doesn't appear to be one that I would chase with any degree of feeling that it would be a quick deal. Matter of fact, it's not even a business; it's more of an investment opportunity. It looks like they're asking for $5 million. It's only $1 in cash flow. Says it got revenue of $1.5 million, but um, looking at it, first, there's no indication that the seller is looking to retire or anything. No seller motivation offered. It's a $1 million safe followed by a $5 million Series A. And like I said, it looks like an investment offer. And so those things can drag on because it can't close until they either raise the funds or they have to refund what you don't fund until they close the deal, but you're going to be kind of tied up for a while waiting for this thing to close if you're looking at something like that. So that's something you just want to kind of avoid, not take a look at, and waste your time there spending it. The last thing I want to take a look at, let's we've been looking at it's kind of a hot sector is med spas. Let's take a look there and see if we see anything that jumps out. And we're gonna go here for biz by sell. Have to go pull this up. All right. And so another listing we have here is a turnkey boutique med spa, fully built out, move in ready. First thing, this one is kind of a tricky one because when you first pull it up, you see turnkey boutique, and turnkey, as we all know, is meaning that's move-in ready. It's ready to just turn over. Meaning now you just close the deal, they'll give you the keys, and it's ready for someone else to take over. But upon further inspection, there's some things that kind of jump out to us. The seller sole clinician, provide a brief transition orient the buyer to the space, no clinical training, qualified buyers only, buyer to secure independent financing. So this, as I mentioned before, when you see signals like that, probably you're going to run into some tape unless you just have your pockets loaded. As a regular buyer, traditional buyer in a sense from our standpoint, this is probably one that if you go to the buyer, he's not ready to cut a deal yet, and so it wouldn't be worth your time to pursue something like that because it's just gonna lead to heartache in the end when he rejects your bid. But that's those listings that we were going to look at for the day. I just wanted to run through a couple of things that we're seeing in the marketplace, and that'll be welcome to. Thank you for listening to another episode of Point of More Returns.